Have I been flocked? All right, let's get this edit down. Yeah, we only got one chapter today, and our target is 4. Although, here, hold on. How many words was this chapter? Oh, I just swapped Royal Load to... All right, so here's their redesign. The war needs you more. All right, let's take a look at their advanced fiction search. Oh, you can't get out of this once you do it. All right, let's go to the fiction page here. Too few ratings. And then I updated the title for this guy too. So let's take a look at what we got going on there. Let's go to the old folks' home. We can see Grandma and all get stoned. Yeah, I think my thing is a little too long. I think you got to go to right, and the dashboard is about the same. So 2,600 words. And if we look, that's about what we're getting each day. Really, we're getting closer to like 2,500 words, and like the number of chapters is whatever. God, how do I already have all this gunk on this mouse? Ooh, the MX Master decaying faster. MX Master, faster. Pieces of skin flakes gunking up my mouse. All right, Annie, that's awful, and I'm sorry that you had to hear that. It's a blue kind of day here. Hold on, let me violetify myself. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's too blue. I bit into a sausage and squirted Earl all over my new shirt. It's one that I made, actually. So, oh, well, you can't see shit here. It's Pot Girls. It's on my site. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm the only one that really wears a lot of the clothing I design, as it should be there. I like it. It's just a bunch of old World War II propaganda that I redigitized and turned into shirts. So there you have it. All right, let's get to chapter 24. Jesus Christ. Uh-oh. Hugo! I don't know what the hell they're barking at, because there's nothing going on here. Like in the middle of the woods in deepest Transylvania. And still they're finding stuff to bark about all the time. I like the new cover, by the way. I just took the old one, and I like the bird a lot better than this dumb book. So, and then on TMZ, man in Indiana cuts off penis and lights it on fire. Good man. Worldly distractions are the worst. All right. I can be getting sick too. Jeez. All right, there we go. All right, well, let's suppose we try to get through chapter 24, which is also, as I recall, a long chapter that I've rewritten a few different times. So really, what I would like, and if you're out there reading this and trying to solve the problem as I am, because really this is a problem-solving stream, I'd like to figure out how I could move chapters around potentially to break up this big, long fantasy section, but I don't know that it's doable, really and truly. We out cheer. All right, cool. So it does work, and my problem is that I am just not attractive to the streaming public. Let's do it. So, Sparfadil was lost. The Viridian River overflowed its banks. The Viridian River had overflowed its banks. The great trains of grain barges were long gone. When Wintermore fell, even the hardiest farmers lost hope and fled south with all that they could carry. Mm-hmm. Holy crow. There's like a gigantic fly. I'm afraid that you must die. Ah, he was faster than I was. Oof. I'll get him, though. Jeez. How's there a horsefly in here? I don't even have horses in the immediate area. Living in filth, boys. That's the that's the problem. The bustling villages along the Viridian River were abandoned. The great trains of grain barges were long gone. When Wintermore fell, even the hardiest farmers lost hope and fled south with all they could carry. The homes they had abandoned were now burned out shells surrounded by fallow fields. Legions of dirty green feet trampled the hills of rich black loam into a sty of muck and filth. The breadbasket of Anvilan was empty and bare. A great battle would soon begin. With the Watchers gone, no one could stop the goblins. Two hordes poured into the valley and laid claim to either side of the Viridian River. We can just say river. Either side of the river. Each day the fever built. Troops of warriors strutted and danced along the shore, proud as peacocks. Chieftains screeched long-winded challenges across... Ooh. Quiet. There we go. I want something like Apocalypse or... Doom. All right, let's try this new paragraph. With the Watchers gone, no one could stop the goblins. Two hordes poured into the valley and laid claim to either side of the river. Each day the fever built. Troops of warriors strutted and danced along the opposite shores, proud as peacocks. Chieftains screeched and shaman howled hexes at the enemy. And shamans... I think the plural of shaman is shamans rather than. I would love it if the plural was just shaman. Let me just check and make sure that that's the case. Shamans, not shaman with en. Okay, so in video games, this is like constantly shaman with an e, but the internet says that this is incorrect. It's a common hypercorrection. The word is a loan from Evenki via Russian and is not derived from the English word man. Although shaman is sometimes used as a plural in specific contexts like World of Warcraft, shamans is the same. Um, Chieftains screeched and shamans howled hexes and obscenities at the enemy. A great battle was brewing. When the spring thaw ended and the river ran low, the hordes would surge across the river and rip out each other's throats. I kind of almost want like a coordinating comma there, but I don't think it's necessary. From the west, a great wave of black leather and death swept across the Badlands. The Bad Moon Soon war band, led by Blackaba Blah. The Bad Moon Soon Blackaba war band, led by Blackaba Blah. Oh yeah. this is uh this is very orky. um Yeah, I think the reason why these are goblins instead of orcs is like one, orcs were kind of Tolkien's thing. I never really like felt it the same way that goblins just make sense. Um, so in Warhammer, orcs and goblins are separate. Um, but yeah, orcs are. I think were they completely created by Tolkien? Here, let's find out. I'm interested. Let's see. The word is derived from the Old English Orkneys, demon monster found in the epic poem Beowulf, and Tolkien himself said he used it for phonetic suitability. He is credited with inventing the modern fantasy conception of orcs as a distinct militaristic race of corrupted humanoids. While earlier folklore contained goblins or demons, Tolkien transformed them into the foot soldiers of evil that define the genre today. Exactly. So I want to stick with just goblins because they're rapier. They're rapier wit. Let me see. From the west, a great wave of black leather and death swept across the Badlands. The Bad Moon Soon Blackaw warband was led by Blackababa, the ingenious and merciless Grand Maja of the Blackaw goblins. Oh yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. From the east, a tide of crazed, painted faces came to meet them. Clad in stolen silks and rainbow feathers, the savage Gorelord goblins were led by Brackakak Back, the sorcerer supreme. For years, the two war chiefs had eyed each other at a distance, probing for weakness with spies and assassins. Now it would end in the Valley of Six Mists. There could be only one Maja. Cinnabonathi led the expedition through the mm-hmm. Cinnabonathi led the heartbroken expedition through the goblin pandemonium. The peerless Hawkmoon scouted ahead and plotted a path through the sorrowful hills. They chose the eastern side of the valley. At the start of their mission, she chose the eastern side of the valley. The Gorelord horde was far larger, but the Sorcerer Supreme was utterly insane, and there was little discipline in his ranks. No, I like that as is. It was their best chance to slip by unnoticed. Sparfadil was terrible to behold. The party could creep right under the bulbous noses of goblin patrols, but they could not escape the devastation. They marched across a waste of trampled crops, torched vineyards, shattered settlements, and ravaged villages. Yeah, it was really like kind of heavy-handed with all this. Well, kind of with everything. Yeah, if we're really being true about it. Here, hold up. Let the light shine in, boys. No, that's not an improvement. But I'll do it anyway. Sparfadil was terrible to behold. The party could creep right under the bulbous noses of the goblin patrols, but they could not escape the devastation. They marched across a waste of trampled crops, torched vineyards, shattered settlements, and ravaged villages. The rain was a gray slush of ash and dust that stained instead of washing away. The wind stank of smoldering ruins and rancid goblin musk. All right. Yeah, I don't think anybody's not going to know what the scene is like there. Cinnabanathi worried after the humans in her party. After such sights, Cinnabanathi worried after the humans in her party, especially the haunted lieutenant. But Cinderman was not shaken. He was inflamed. He looked at what the goblins had wrought, and his eyes blazed, twin beacons of hate. His jaw was tight, his fists His jaw was always tight, his fists forever clenched at his sides. The halberdiers itched to face the beasts who'd done this. For now, stealth was their only hope. They met only one human. For now, they went by stealth. Because I think we did stealth was their only hope like 2 or 3 times previously. Up in this, let me see. Yeah. For now, yeah, we don't even need that. Like the reader understands that they're sneaking at this point. They met only one human, a raving loon. The party crept past a shack so dilapidated they assumed. Mm-hmm. The party crept past a dilapidated shack, which was in such poor shape they assumed it must be abandoned. Anguished screams rang inside. Wary of a trap, they approached to offer aid. The madman leapt through the window and escaped, hollering into the hills. Marrow raised his bow, but yeah. There are a lot of commas and long sentences in this. I do not envy the real editor. Let's try again. They met only one human, a raving loon. The party crept past a dilapidated shack. The party crept past a moonshiner's shack. Yeah. So I don't think that we need to get into like the whole they assumed it must be abandoned thing. The party crept past a ruined moonshiner's shack. Anguished screams rang inside. Screams rang within. Wary of a trap, they approached to offer aid. As they drew close, yeah. A man's voice screamed within. Wary of a trap, they approached to offer aid. As they drew close, As the scouts drew close, the madman leapt through the window and escaped, hollering into the hills. Marrow raised his bow, but Cinnabonathi shook her head. It was ill fortune to kill a madman. No, I don't. I almost want to cut this part. When Swillab dared to peer through the veil, the gods had surely taken notice that the sermons was ear to the one of the Devaster would follow. If he was dear to a god, disaster would follow. They pinched their noses to inspect his shack. The scouts pinched their noses to inspect his shack. Skunk leaf and poppy tar permeated every fiber of the awful hovel. The bare walls were scrawled with vile charcoal drawings. Cinnabonathi had made a terrible... Cinnabonathi had erred. It was clear the hermit gave himself over to chaos long ago. And had even cohabited with goblins. Ooh. Goblin effer. It was clear the hermit gave himself to chaos long ago, and had even cohabited with goblins. Above his bed of musty rushes, the cracked moon was painted in blood. That night they heard howls in the distance, closer by the hour. The hermit had squealed to his masters. Now stealth was no help. The party had to march at double time. Outriders were on their way. Alone, the Hawkmoon could have vanished without a trace, but the expedition could move no faster than the plodding dwarves. There was nothing subtle or swift about Hilg's shield bearers. Each time Cinnabanathi met Hilg's eyes, judgment seared back. Her mistake would cost them dearly. Her lapse in judgment would cost them dearly. I like it. There was no sleep that night. Wolf riders round around. How am I so froggy? Oh, what's up, Carmine Kin? What'd it do? Oh, indeed. Nobody watches this on Kick. Actually, my headphone is not working properly, so can you reply to me on Bat Chat? Mm-hmm. The same gimmick every time. There was no sleep that night. Wolf riders rode around the camp in screaming circles. The goblins blew horns and beat on pots until dawn, while their hairy steeds howled along. It was cunning and cowardly. The goblins would never fight an army at full strength. They would wait until their armies were overwhelming and the expedition was half dead from failure. From fatigue. From failure. I'm half dead from failure. Hard as the party marched, the howls were never far. As the day dragged on, their slumberless steps grew heavier by the hour. Cinnabanathi kept an eye on the line. A few halberdiers wavered, but none dropped. Something had to be done soon. Dusk came quickly in Sparfadil. The sun slid behind the mountains and the mist hid the moons. Cinnabanathi ordered the main force to march on. With their bows, she and her Hawkmoon... Look at this. Why would this ever work? I just... The return on that kind of spamming is so low. And the cost is so high that these guys are barely scraping by. Like, he's in Mumbai right now, pleading for like a quarter bowl of lukewarm gupta, just to run this series of bots and so forth. It is the lowest form of criminality that's possible, and that's why nobody respects these people. They never climb above whatever. They learn the scam from some other dude who's charging them in a lot of cases and so forth. It really is. It's the same as how like street level drug dealers are making less than a minimum wage. It is awful, really and truly. It's yeah. The fact of the matter is, like, parasitism is not a good life. As the parasites suffer as much as their hosts. So food for thought. Also, let me get rid of this idiot. Boom. Gone forever. But then here am I, arguing with a bot. But who knows, man? Like, after, my crimes are revealed, all manner of people might be watching these streams and judging me viciously. Joke's on you, I'll be dead and in hell. What do we got here? With their bows, she and her Hawkmoon climbed into the trees and lay in wait. Soon the goblins rode along with their pots and whistles in hand, grinning like fiends. Oh, what up, Logic? You missed the first part of this. There's so many commas that you could have gotten points for. Yeah, this chapter is not well written, sadly. Dusk came quickly in Sparfadil. The sun slid behind the mountains and the mist hid the moons. Cinnabanathi ordered the main force to march on. With their bows, she and her Hawkmoon climbed into the trees and lay in wait. Soon enough, the goblins rode along with their pots and whistles in hand, grinning like fiends. To the goblins, this was all a jape. Hidden high in a pine, Cinnabonathi drew a bead on their leader. I was taking a chouette. You were doing a dookie duet with your turlet bowl. Good job. So here's one that I want. How old is the origin drew a bead? Because this is a super common thing when like talking about archery and fantasy stuff, where you'll use stuff like fire and the word fire. Here, let me take a look. Yeah, I don't think you can have drew a bead before rifles exist. The idiom originated in American English around 1830, derived from marksmanship terminology. It relies to aligning the bead on the front side of a rifle or a revolver with the rear notch. So in 1930, the phrase shifted from literal shooting to mean focusing intently on a goal, problem, or person. It's commonly used in contexts such as business, politics, and literature, according to the Oracle. But so let's take a look for so this is an anachronism that we could get rid of. What's the equivalent in archery, though? Like picking our target. Anchoring. Anchoring is the process of pulling the bowstring back to a consistent, repeatable point on... Oh, okay. I do like this this thing here. Hidden high on a pine, Cinnabonathi anchored a shot on their leader. He was easy to pick out, for he wore a milk bucket for a helmet and a stolen washboard as a breastplate. Keenly she could remember the sound it made, rattling off-beat all night long. She loosed the string of her silver heartsbane bow and smiled. She loosed the string of her silver heartsbane bow with a smile. Do you loose a string or you loose the arrow? Is my problem with that. Let's take a look. Yeah, lined up on kind of makes sense, but I do like the anchor terminology there, because archery nerds will get... Loosing an arrow is like much more... loosing specifically refers to the act of releasing the bowstring to allow the arrow to fly. Okay, so it is the bowstring that you loose, and the arrow is what you... Okay, cool. So we're accurate. In fact, we're blaccurate, which is how I like to say accurate, to shout out to diversity at all times. The black arrow's broadhead, see? The black arrow's broadhead punched right through the tin washboard. The jape was over. Okay, so this is the all a jape. The black arrow's broadhead punched right through the tin washboard and bit into the goblin's belly. He fell off his wolf, screaming. The jape was over. Elvish humor was more refined. The goblin would take days to die. All around her, Cinnabonathi heard the muffled twang of muted strings. Each was followed by an awful scream. She'd hoped to end them all. She'd hoped to kill every goblin and buy more time, but a runt at the rear escaped. Yeah, so you can't have comedy there. There we go. She'd hoped to kill every goblin and buy more time, but a run at the rear escaped the ambush and fled howling into the mist. It's a semicolon because they're two independent clauses. Yep. So either could stand on their own, which means that you use a semicolon. Yeah, so we want the semicolon there because I want these two, the two concepts to be linked. So that is a free point for you, big logic. But uh-oh. Uh-oh. No, thunder time. I'm going to keep this with kill them all. All right, cool. She had hoped to kill them all and buy more time, but a run at the rear escaped the ambush and fled howling into the mist. Alas, the ambush brought the exposition... Wait. Let me see. Okay. There we go. Alas, the ambush... The maneuver brought the exposition a few precious hours of sleep. Far too soon the wolves returned and the march resumed. There were always more goblins. That night, the wolf riders kept well out of range. Shouts flew further than arrows. On top of that, it rained. The men huddled under tarpaulins and snatched bits of sleep in miserable, shivering shifts. Oh, man. I know I've been there. Good God. As part of the meme war. At dawn, they could see their goal. Blag Peak rose east of the Six Widows, roaring waterfalls that wept endlessly along the edge of a high, hidden lake. Okay. There was a spot earlier, chapters ago, where I was wondering what the name of those waterfalls were. So let's see. Oh, it's so far back, because I gave them a name later on. I like the name The Six Widows, so it's worth... So it wasn't here, where he faced their goal. It's probably up in the Swilev chapter. It's all the way back in another book, which I hate because then I have to go all the way back. Let's see. Oh, well, I don't think that this is even here. Let me see. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, we don't have to append it. It doesn't fit within the sentence. That's good, because then I would have to go back and change the chapter 2 in the print version. I love where they're talking about the map, by the way. Let me see. At dawn, they could see their goal. Blag Peak rose east of the Six Widows. So there is a colon or something. Oh my god, I'm all the way back here. And the Six Widows, a line of roaring waterfalls. Let's call them a string. A cascade of roaring waterfalls that wept endlessly along the edge of a high, hidden lake. The peak was just a horizon away, and they were past the main body of the Core Lord horde, but they could never reach it. Yeah, let's change this up. But they could never reach it. The dwarves were bone-tired and silent as stones. The humans were close to keeling over. Marrow returned from the rear and reported there was a large force on their tail. Rear guard. No, the rear's fine. The goblins were taking their time. Marrow believed they would catch the expedition near midnight. I'm gonna go, here, let me just pause this for a second. It's thundering so much, I just want to make sure my dogs aren't, like, freaking out or scared. You guys watch the stream. Make sure that everything's okay. Angie's new brother's laser printer today. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, it's a brother printer? Oh, it's a brother laser printer. You know, I just got a new Canon, like photo thing, and I was astonished at how good it is. It really isn't a POS at all, like so many other printers I had. The photo prints were just amazing. I think it's like one of the Piximo ones there. I really was kind of like blown away with it. And they have it so that you can replace the ink with bottles now. Speaking of which, I need to print some pictures so that they don't mess up. Yeah, I've installed a lot of Brothers though, way back in the day. They keep on ticking. Brother. Yeah, so I checked on the dogs. They're pretty good with like thunder and fireworks and stuff like that. But I was able to get a burr out of Big Hugo's fur, so it was worth patting them. And they were happy to see me. They don't like just being on their own while I'm live streaming. That's half the reason why I don't do as much streaming anymore. It's like people are all like, "Hey, pay attention to me." So I got to do it. They're too cute. Let me see here. Are you looking for named waterfalls or the river name? No, I found the thing and it wasn't worth doing. I got that. But thank you for checking in. Marrow believed they would catch the expedition near midnight. He warned he'd spotted a great shadow moving at the black. He warned that he'd seen a large shadow moving at the back of the pack. Marrow could not tell if it was a contraption or a beast. Marrow could not tell if it was a contraption or a beast, but the goblins seemed afraid of it. If they could just last another day, they could make it into the mines and perhaps escape. Cinderman offered to have his men draw straws for a suicide squad. Oh, I like this one here. If they could just last another day, they could make it into the mines and perhaps escape. Cinderman proposed, let's call him Lieutenant Cinderman here. Lieutenant Cinderman proposed to have his men draw straws for a suicide squad that would stage a last stand. They would stage a last stand and I'll let the... So I'm going to give you a point anyways because you caught it just as I was doing it. Yeah, I think I fixed all that. Oh, that's also a good point there. I'm going to give you each a point for that guy. Because I think both of those were good suggestions. Thank you kindly. Agatha, you were at 13. Logic, you are at 8. And I still have not like sat down and actually... No. Command S, you contraption. It's ridiculous. So 13 and 8, man. You guys are neck and neck. And yeah, both good ideas to fix that. If they could just last another day. If the expedition could just last one more day. If the expedition could just last... no. Unlike either of those changes. If they could just last another day, they could make it into the mines and perhaps escape. Lieutenant Cinderman proposed to have his men draw straws for a suicide squad. They would stage a last stand and allow the rest... Alright, so... Yeah, I just saw that simultaneously. They would stage a last stand to allow the rest of the exposition... Wait. Is that a dog? Hachi! Where's that devil dog? Hachi! Hello, buddy. Oh. I'm rubbing this dog's belly like my life depends on it. Hello, doglet. Hello, sweetie. You want up? Oh, she's adorable. Cutie. Hello, pup. Hello. She's going through a false pregnancy, and so her tits are gigantic. Ugh. I'm having the same problem. Say hello, buddy. Hello, Hachi. What's going on, dogger? Oh. Hello, long dog. Oh, it's a sweetie. All right, you can sit in my lap while we edit. Just don't make any suggestions. All she wants is like for things to be about bones and stuff like that. Although I made suggestions. Oh, there we go. Of course, he would stay behind to lead them. It tracked with the prophecy. Cinnabonathi was about to agree, but Bobbert stopped her. He had a better idea. Painfully close to their goal, they stopped early and set up camp in full sight of the goblin spies. The weather was perfect for Bobbert's plan. As night fell, thick clouds covered the moons and fog rolled over the hills until every sound carried like they were inside a cathedral. So we have the till there so that it rhymes, and if we were only doing this as like a spoken word thing, it would be the way to go. The weather was perfect for Bobbert's plan. As night fell, thick clouds covered the moons and fog rolled over the hills. Every sound carried like they were inside a cathedral. The camp bustled with the sounds of many men winding down after a long slog. The pursuers listened at a careful distance, wary of another painful lesson from the hawk moon. When the time was ripe, they would climb onto their wolves, charge in with their spears, and take their revenge. The Gobos played right into Bobbert's plot. The camp was a decoy. The expedition was far away. Okay. You want to see your adoring fans one more time before you jump down? Hello. Look at this dog. She's very long. Extremely long dog. All right. Wish us success with winning the Hugo Award. Thank you, long dog. What a sweet. The camp was a decoy. The main force of the exposition was already far away. Seems like it goes really fast from here's his idea to it's really happening. Well, so here's his idea, right? And then here's painfully close to their goal. Like, here's the setup. Idea, paragraph of setup, execution. And then, so we revealed the plot here, like a couple things there. So I think the problem is that they don't immediately attack. He fools them for an extended period of time. So it might be. Yeah. Unfortunately, my headphones broke today because of my naughty cat. This same scam? What a dunce. What a dunce. Yeah, I know, right? Add to restream block list. Boom. Got him. I don't know if they. So I think it only keeps them from appearing on stream, and you still have to hear them in the Twitch chat. But yeah, it's just a bot. I wonder what the. Oh, you know what it is? Here's the awful part of it. It's just some AI artist. It's like one guy, right? That shills like AI art, and he tries to convince you to pay him for it, right? It's one Indian dude with like a million accounts. I made this. Definitely not the yeah. No, right? They waited, never realizing they'd taken the bait. The camp was a decoy. The main force of the expedition was leagues away, marching up the river. Only Bobbert and Cinnabanathi remained. With a few cantrips and a great number of strings tied to tent flaps and branches, Bobbert did his best to sound like a whole unit of clumsy men trying to be quiet. Bobbert did his best to sound like a whole unit of clumsy men who were trying to be quiet. Cinnabanathi moved from tree to tree like a ghost, putting black arrows through any goblins who wandered too close. It was great sport. It was great sport, but terrible peril. It was a great sport. No, so you would really want it to be here. Yeah, there we go. It was great sport, but terribly perilous. I like the sound of terribly perilous. Mm-hmm. If the goblins saw through Bobbert's ruse, they would rush in and turn him into apprentice stew. Oh, I like that one. Yeah, like it is. I hope nobody ever makes me stop, like sneaking in all this internal rhyme. But these, it's so fun. I don't care how much nerds hate it. If the Gobberts saw through Bobbert's ruse, they would rush in and turn him into apprentice stew. The pair pressed their luck for as long as they could, hoping to buy time for the exposition. Yeah, we don't need this part of the sentence. I also really like the name Cinnabanathi. I don't. It sounds completely stupid. Just as Cinnabanathi was about to give the signal to withdraw, she heard movement in the north. From the south, mm-hmm. Then, from the south, a dozen wolves howled. The Gore Lord had run out of patience. Bobbert! Cinnabonathi left from her perch and rushed to warn the boy. They'd carefully plotted their escape route. As Bobbert leapt up to flee, he forgot the strings tied to his feet. Blast! The boy went down. Oh, yeah, we don't need that blast. WKRP in Cincinnati. WKR Penis in Cinnabonathi. Yeah, I never watched WKRP, and like I saw like 1 or 2 episodes to know that the show exists, but I could not name a character or anything from it. I have no idea of the plot or whatever. It's like some of like Murphy Brown, but at least I remember her being pregnant. Let me see. She heard movement in the north as she heard movement from the north. It's either or. I'll give it to you. She heard movement from the north, then from the south. No, this is why. This is why we did this. Because we get from and then from, right? So you need to have then from the south, yeah. So she heard movement in the north, then from the south. Yeah, like so it's I guarantee that I read this and I was like, I don't want to have from every couple of lines. Yeah, just know it for flipping through channel. I wonder what the premise of WKRP in Cincinnati was. It's so forgotten that potentially you could like remix the entire series and make a banging album out of it. Yeah, I watched a lot more Newsroom. I can remember a lot of it. My favorite point of Newsroom is when it's revealed that Phil Hartman can generate his own reverb, but when he does it, he suffers from intense migraines and blackouts just from inside of his skull. News radio. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Phil Hartman. He was like definitely one of my favorite parts of this. Yeah, you had old Joel Rogaine in there as like the meathead, and that weird looking dude from Kids in the Hall in there. Yeah, man, it's a good show. All right. Just as Cinnabonathi was about to give the signal to withdraw, she heard movement in the north. Then, from the south, a dozen wolves howled. The Gore Lord had run out of patience. Bobbert! Cinnabonathi leapt from her perch and rushed to warn the boy. They'd carefully plotted their escape route. As Bobbert leapt up to flee, he forgot the strings tied to his feet. Okay. Yeah, Andy Dick. Yeah, I love that Andy Dick also has just become like an incorrigible drunk, like just the worst possible POS in all of Hollywood. he's like actually like great on that Norm Macdonald thing, like his show for a little bit there. But now I'm sure he's just ruined. Keeps appearing on like Ike's Poseidon stream and sexually assaulting people. It's dope. Cinnabonathi could still get away if she left him behind. Now, of course, she's not going to do that. Yeah, R.I.P. to Norm. Norm hurt the worst of all, right? I was watching his clips like long before he died there. But then he just became like the YouTube phenomenon of the entire pandemic until the algorithm finally hit all those clip channels. But yeah, RIP to a real one. She spun and drew Faflets. The curved blade of the sky metal scimitar flared a brilliant blue and burned away the mist. Uncanny light flashed in the eyes of a dozen wolves and Uncanny light flashed in the eyes of the wolves and their goblin riders. Too many. The blade shook in her hand. Here was the end Swilliv had foreseen. For a hero... For a hero to arise, the self must die. She'd been certain she would be brave at the end, but now it had arrived and she was terrified. Cinnabanathi had been certain she would be brave at the end, but now... But it had arrived, and she was terrified. Oh, hold on. These quotes is wrong. All right. It's a comma slice. Okay, cool. So let's give a point to the robot. There we go. Cinnabanathi had been certain she would be brave at the end, but it had arrived, and she was terrified. Okay, and then hopefully don't need a comma like right after but. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, man, bots are ever present and incessant. We need a final solution to this kind of problemo. Cinnabanathi had been certain she would be brave at the end, but it had arrived and she was terrified. There was still time to flee. The goblins could not follow her. Bobbert was only a boy. His entire life was a blink before hers. Cinnabanathi turned from the riders. "Run!" she shouted. With wicked smiles, the goblins spurred their mounts forward to run her down. All smiles, the goblins spurred their mounts forward to run her down. Cinnabanathi spun back around and the first spear point flew past her. She sprang in a leaping slash. Faflets sliced through the goblin's leather gorget and through his spine in a burst of brilliant blue. Faflets sliced through the goblin's leather gorget and cleaved through his spine in a burst of brilliant blue. His head still wore an idiot grin as it tumbled into the brush. The second rider was dazzled by the flare. His thrust went wide and struck the headless rider's mount. It was only a glancing blow, but the wolf didn't think so. With a furious snarl, the wounded wolf sprang at the second rider and knocked him from the saddle. He set in on the goblin and savaged him. No, I like this concept there. The second rider was dazzled by the flare. His thrust went wide and struck the headless rider's mount. It was only a glancing blow. Uh, it was only a glancing blow, but the wolf didn't think so. With a furious snarl, the wounded wolf sprang at the second rider and knocked him from the saddle. He set in on the goblin and savaged him. The goblin's own wolf joined in, and together they tore. The goblin's own wolf joined in, and together they tore the rider back and forth like a toy. Glancing blow, wounded. Yeah, because wounded can imply anything, right? Like, a paper cut is a wound. Like we are drawing from like a military idea where somebody is only wounded if they're like pulled out of duty or whatever. But the word wounded can mean like any kind of puncture. Let me just make sure that it. And like also we're saying this. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah. Like I know, and other people may think the same there because I know exactly what you're getting at. But I think we can leave it as is. That's one. If the editor disagrees with me and agrees with you, I will let you know. The third rider waited out the glare. The third rider waited and managed to pin Cinnabonathi with her back against a tree. Let's say corner because pin makes it sound like he's screwing her. Right? Although a tree is not a corner, just like at her back. The third rider waited and managed to corner Cinnabonathi with her back against a tree. As the goblin charged, she turned towards the trunk, dashed a few steps up, and sprang backward. The spearhead thunked into the tree. She sailed overhead in a twirling slash that nearly cut the rider in half. The charging wolf slammed into the tree trunk and was knocked senseless. Cinnabonathi landed in a roll and rose, breathing hard. She heard chanting at her back. Bobbert! The fool apprentice had not fled as she'd ordered. And so I just want to point out here, we know that this is a YA or PG-13 story because no animals die. Not even the evil wolves get slain. That's just a hardcore rule. Even though they're ridden by goblins, no wolves die in this storyline. You know. The fool apprentice had not fled as she'd ordered. Now they would both die. I don't think you need that comma there. Now they would both die. Another trio charged. The goblins fought in threes. It was a mistake to waste so much energy with all... It was a mistake to waste so much energy with all their flashy maneuvers. Now Cinnabonathi was winded. The goblins would never stop. The air stank of burnt metal and sorcery. With a locust roar, a swarm of green sparks flew at the riders and engulfed them. The motes stung again and again, and the wolves went mad. The motes stung again and drove the wolves mad. One bit the other's tail, and soon all three and their riders were dragged into a snarling brawl of claws and teeth. Heavy steps thundered close, and a shadow approached from the south. Cinnabonathi grabbed a fallen spear and hurled it with all of her might. She heard a heavy thunk, then a snap and a snort of contempt. Here was their master. Shout out to the rigged pig from IRC D&D. The Boar Lord had feasted on his rivals and grown 3 times as large as a normal goblin. His skin was tinged orange with brain rot, and his eyes were blood red. Shoutouts to Prions. He wore ill-fitting bits of stolen Imperial armor, and the snapped shaft dangled from his heavy oaken shield. His boar's mane was brighted with skull totems and bones. Yeah. His boar's mane was braided with bones. Do we need that detail there? Like, skulls and bones was too much. His boar's mane was braided with bones. The boar lord raised a double-headed axe and bellowed at his rivals in this. Outlined in moonlight, the boar lord raised a double-headed axe. He bellowed at his fellows in their snot-belching mockery of a language. No more chaos. The wolf riders snapped into line and moved to encircle Bobbert and Cinnabinathi. All right, cool. Tusks jutted from the boar lord's thick lips. He held up 2 fingers and smiled. You are only 2. They were doomed. Behind her, Bobbert's voice raced, high and frantic. Cinnabinathi was no magus, but she could still hear the flubbed sigil. A queasy feeling rippled through the air as bobbled We took it out, yeah. So a sigil is strict. Yeah, a sigil is just like one character of a spell. I believe. Isn't a sigil strictly a symbol rather than a sound like an incantation? Let's look it up. Sigil is a seal, a sign, or a symbol considered to be magical. Yeah, so it's a symbol, and it's pictorial entirely. So pictorial image. So I guess you could just say that like sigil should not be used for like words or whatever. Wait, I'm looking at all these sigils. Goeta symbols. What are these? The Lesser Key of Solomon. What is Goetic? Okay, so this is English artist and occultist Austin Osman Spare developed his own unique method of creating and using sigils, which had a lasting effect on modern occultism. Spare did not agree with the medieval practice of using these, arguing that supernatural beings were simply complexes in the unconscious and could be actively created through the process of sigilization. His technique became a cornerstone of chaos magic. It also influenced artist Brion Geisen, who experimented with combining Spare's sigil method with the traditional form of magic squares. All right, these are kind of interesting looking. But obviously this guy had way too much time on his hands. It looks like a video game. All right, so the more you know. Then It was a book of all of them. I used the Sigil of Eligor. Lots of hidden meaning in my lore. Yeah, I got letting it all hang out here. Telling us your hidden sigil. Um, a queasy feeling rippled through the air as Bahamut. With a yelp, the boar lord hid behind his shield. The sphere shrieked around the wood and coated him with rainbow flame. The light clung to the boar lord like paint. For a moment, he was still. Oh, I do like this one. Sphere of rainbow flame. With a yell, the boar lord hid behind his shield. With a yelp, the boar lord hid behind his shield. The sphere shrieked around the wood and coated him with rainbow fire. You are now gay. Oh my god. Oh, that's great. Oh, what an amazing spell. I would cast that all the time. A queasy feeling rippled through the air as Bobbert cast his spell and hurled a sphere of rainbow flame. With a yelp, the boar lord hid behind his shield. The sphere shrieked around the wood, and rainbows flowed over him. The sphere shrieked around the wood and engulfed him. The light clung to the boar lord like paint. For a moment he was still, waiting for pain that never came. The spell did nothing more than dye his skin. The goblins burst into chattering laughter. The chief grunted 2 words. No translation was needed. Kill them. No comma there for a moment. For a moment, a unit of time, he was still, comma, waiting for pain that never came. This may be correct. Here, let's shit GPT it. That's $1. $24 I owe the American Leukemia Foundation. Pretty soon I will be one of the top donators to this thing, just because I can't control myself. All right. Mm-hmm. Almost. You have one extra comma in there that's breaking up the sentence too much. All right, so we can just remove that one. For a moment, he was still, waiting for pain that never came. Looks like you are right. Logic, according to the robot. I will give you a point that puts you at 10, I think. Because you had 8, but there was a plus at the end of it that I typed while trying to give you one. So you're closing in there. Good lord. So I believe that you were at 10. Yeah, correct the comma. No, it is in fact not correct. And you really don't want 2 commas unless it's like a direct aside in there. The gobbo has died of grids. The light clung to the boar lord like paint. The gaudy light clung to the boar lord like paint. For a moment he was still, waiting for pain that never came. The spell did nothing more than dye his skin. The goblins burst into chattering laughter. The chief grunted 2 words. No translation was needed. No LGBT. All right, cool. So I think that finishes the chapter, and that is all the editing that I want to do today. Let's see how many. I think this is 1,500 words only. No, it's long. This is another 2,500 words. It's like 7 or 8 pages. Whew, I thought we would never get through this chapter. But let me see. I'm going to call this Bobbert's Bobble. Ugh. That's so dumb. All right, cool. Yeah, and let me see. Hold on, let me take a look at this here. Just make sure there's no dumb formatting. All right, cool. All right, that wound up not being as bad as I thought it would be just because there was a lot of action in the chapter, right? And so like you can get away with more stuff. Oh yeah, how do you like this this new cover thing? Here, hold on. Let me go to the fiction page here. Maybe it'll show it better there. Yeah, so I did this new cover here. I'm just using this little birdie. Robin the Prodigy. Right here. There, you can see the whole thing there. It's not too bad. Yeah, it works much better than the comp. Yeah, man, I just want something where people can see it and be like, oh, okay. And I like it's just outlines and negative space. I like you can see the white of his eye there. And we got the goofy ZYZ happening there. It's okay. I could get with it. So, here, let me also move this down and let me go back to here and then see what was I really trying to. That's where it's supposed to be. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for your help, both of you. Works. Yeah, the comp book just did not track well as a image, and so much of like book covers is just having like that thing that pops out at you. Nothing else really matters, and honestly, I like the look of this much better, and the weird G on the Prodigy. As I roll with Prodigy. All right, so that's it for me. I'm gonna go see if these dogs want to go outside. Thank you everybody for your help here. There's just, you can see all morning where I'm like doing this on my own and it's just not the same. Just like a little companionship makes the day so much better. And I just want to say that I truly appreciate it. And if you guys want me to watch you rail your husbands or whatever, I guess I have to now. Almost got your morning too groggy. Yeah, I hear you. I was too groggy to do it too. I didn't want to do it. Not in the slightest. All right, if you can, if you want to do me a huge solid, just join Royal Road. It's like an easy sign up. It's free. Tab through this book and then just give like a review. 5 stars is what I would suggest, but you choose yourself what you think is right. And it would help a lot, man. I don't have enough ratings and reviews on this thing. And similarly, if you have not put a review of Zeros on Goodreads, I would appreciate it highly. I need to combat against the review bombing from whatever. I don't know. I guess it's Israelis or something. 1 star, not enough. Ensler. So here, let me just paste it here. Yeah, so there, if you feel like giving like a Jake review of any of my stuff there, and then also, let's see. Yeah, look at these reviews. These are not no bueno. Wait, oh, and I can see Logic's review on this already. So he already got in on this one. But if we go to the latest ones, like, and this really galls me, honestly, here. We have this lady, Signe. Unfortunately, just not for me. I did listen to the audiobook and I really enjoyed the narration, but the story was just a bit too much. All right. All right, whatever. And then the rest of these are fours. This guy says, yo, this was effing good. Solid writing, superliminal pace, a 4. And then, oh, I thought there were some more BS ones here. Oh, I like this guy. Waste of my time. Extremely unpleasant story with no redeeming qualities. Do not waste your time too. So bad I had to see if it at least had a good payoff at the end. Nope. I like this one. Shout out to Jerry Smith. I think Jerry Smith might actually believe that. I think that is not a review. This one here is a guy on like a book review Discord that I was chatting with, and like I know who he is too. And I just want to say your writing is not as good as Zeros's. You know, I'm not like the greatest of all time, but I am better than you. Just putting it out there. I really couldn't get into this book and gave up about a third into the story. While the initial scenario held some promise, it went on too long and got stale very quickly. What really grated on me was the Baroque language that seemed entirely unsuited to the topic or characters at hand. Thank you. The Baroque language in the Conlang set 700 years in the future about a Chinese star empire, where like the point of the book is the language is completely different and evolved and so forth. I don't know. You know, and the main character who was way up his own ass. Anyhow, we got Funk Power up in there. Scott S. I wonder if that's not Scott Calhoun. And then ATZ. This entire review has been hidden because of spoilers. Listened to the audio version, but could not get past the first couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then shout out to Gordon Long here, who I forget. I think that came in through Reedsy or whatever. There, I think Jason might be Vapor. Help me out. And then AS got in there with that one there. I think that's Monk. Anyhow, I'm like fixating on this so hardcore. But shout out to Vicodin getting in there. I left a review for myself. And these are all people wherever. So anyhow, this is the struggle that I go through every day. Just trying to put these out here. You know, these are in most cases, like these books are free. Like these people are not paying for these things. And you know, is what it is, ain't what it ain't. Either you can or you can't. But yeah, I would love to get people who actually enjoy the books to speak up so that more people can read them. Because I think they're good. I think, you know, nobody wastes their time reading Zeros. It has a lot to say. You know, what you say about the other books is all right, but Zeros is fucking solid. I owe another $1 to the Leukemia Foundation for my ranting. All right, let me get out of here before I make a larger ass of myself. But thank you both, and we shall continue. I will not stop until this dumb book is done. Oh, I wanted to see how many words it was. I was hoping it was like 2,500, but it's probably like 1,700. Ooh, 22.4. So we got through like 5,000 words today. Life is good. All right. Thank you both. And don't forget, we have chat court tomorrow. I guarantee like Eraser is going to flake out on this chat court. And it's just going to be me holding my D, trying to plow through another LRH with no Craigulus or whatever there. So